Lydia, we must have done something right. You're back. You're here again.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a good session, so
Oh, good one. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm trying to be sit with sensation more and looking when there are thoughts coming up, and then when you suggested to laugh, so I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, practicing. Sometimes it's like something happens and then I don't know exactly what to do with it. So because when Ella was talking about splitting like thoughts and sensation, it was like, how am I doing that right now? So I try to stay with sensations.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to do it. If you stay with sensations, you find that thoughts change. Thoughts will drop off. Maybe they will lose their insistence on being engaged with. But let's not build expectations. It's the important thing is for you to be in a state of just watching what's going on. So although you have an intention to move towards sensation, to move towards focusing on sensation, it's not. I mean, the trick is it's not something we can actually do. We can just what happens is that an idea comes up to do that, and then we may find ourselves doing it more or less, or more effectively. The 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 feeling that you're looking for is getting closer to the sensations. See, sensations are not going to be static. They're not going to be still. They're not fixed. They're going to be moving and changing and varying in intensity and flavor. So we just what we do is we just intend to get closer to them. But in doing that,
Curious.
yes, yes. And in doing that, the thoughts take a back seat. It's not like they go away, but they don't demand, we don't get lost in them as much. And because we're intending to focus on the sensations, what the thoughts are about becomes more interesting because we're not engaged in it. We're not expressing the content of thoughts. By moving towards the sensations, we can see the thoughts in a more objective way. But it's almost like we're seeing them just out of the corner of our eyes more than we're not looking at the thoughts directly because we're looking for the sensation. The thoughts are a peripheral thing that starts to happen just on the edge.
Yeah.
It's very much experimentation.
It's, yeah. What I notice is when I go into the body, it's, how to say that? It's a sensation that's always there, I notice. And it seems like I don't get deeper into it. Sometimes I do, this morning I had a session with somebody It was really, really big. It was really big fear there, a really big issue there. And then I can go to it. I can feel it in my body, it was really like freeze. It was cold and my body was really shaking. It was a really big one, but sometimes it's like it's always the same thing, like some sort of buzzing in my body, not getting to it. I don't know how to explain it
Mhm.
else. Way.
I get a
Yeah.
flavor of what you're saying. Saying it's always the same
Ah,
tells me that you're still quite some distance from it.
hmm,
Because when you get closer to it, it can't possibly be the same
hmm.
because of the changing nature of it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when
I'm
you
doing
get,
something that, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
well, but this is all a big experiment, isn't it? It's all a case of trying to discover. So so when you say it's always the same, you're saying many things. You're saying a lot. One of the things you're saying is, I'm failing,
Mm,
right? It's not
mm,
happening. I'm expecting something. You see, all of these things are implicit in that statement that it's always the same.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So getting closer to it, being more curious about it.
But at the same time as that, and that is all true, at the same time, the that the statement appears that it's always the same
Okay, yeah.
is something really interesting for you. It's interesting in that if you don't get lost inside that statement, then you ask yourself immediately, where does that statement come from? What is it saying about me?
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah.
So anything that comes up is good. Everything is good. Everything is okay. What comes up. What we're always looking at is what is our relationship to what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't fail, right? It's not there is because there is no success or failure.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
there is like a treasure hunt. Everything is a clue on this treasure hunt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
yeah.
it's if you could do it perfectly, whatever that is, if you could do it perfectly, what would happen?
I could do it perfectly. What would I would be happy, I think.
So that then you say, okay, what did I just say? Then I would be happy. Does that mean I'm unhappy now?
Um, hmm. Not in this moment, but when that happens, that I feel the same thing, then it feels like, hmm,
Disappointment.
mm, is that disappointment? Something fear, more fear, something.
Okay, all right.
To know exactly what it is exactly, but
Okay.
not happy.
Yes, yes. So what it is exactly is not important.
Mm.
What it is may be difficult to describe because
Yes.
it, it's it's probably many things all at once.
Uh-huh.
Um, so what will make you happy if you get it? Why will you be happy? What would make that? What would be about that that would make you happy?
Mm. I guess like when that sensation is gone and it disappears. It's not that it makes me really unhappy, but more like some miscontentment, some
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
some boring feeling sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
It's mixed with yeah.
So does that feeling make you want to not examine that? Does that feeling take you away from examining that? It's not really well put, but yeah.
Mm. Um, I notice I can better go there when there's another person guiding me than doing it myself. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes I can do it, but sometimes it stays there. Like I try to go in it and it stays there all the time. It doesn't release in some way. I'm not going deep enough, or something holds me
Mm, mm.
back from really going into it's like I don't know what to do exactly. I'm a facilitator. I should I'm
Yeah.
I can do that. But if I have to do it on my own, it's like more difficult. We're supposed to do it on our own, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't work.
Okay, okay. So so what if what you think you're supposed to do isn't what you're supposed to do,
Hmm.
but what is happening is what is supposed to be there? Boring,
Miscontentment. Yeah.
whatever that is. Yeah.
Hmm.
So whatever is there is what's supposed to be there,
Yeah,
even if
it's
it
there
feels
in the
like it's
moment.
meant to be
Yes.
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But what is there with when we have the right attitude towards it, it will show us what else is there. When we have the wrong attitude towards it, it's all there is. But there is no right or wrong, but you get what I mean, you know. So
Mhm.
when if what is there is a sense of don't let me put words in your mouth, but you just for the sake of communication, take my words very lightly and correct me, please. But
Mm.
if what is there is a sense of failure or a sense of disappointment or a sense of boredom or whatever it is,
Whatever it is, yeah.
yeah, that is doing its job, whatever that is. And if that job is to keep you away from something that is deeper, then it's being very successful, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So if
Because
you
I
want,
can notice that a lot of thoughts going on, and then, oh, no, 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 okay, stay with the sensation. Okay, stay with the, and it keeps
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. So you think that staying with the sensation and getting close to the sensation and seeing something about that sensation, you think that's the aim of it. But it's not. It is an aim, but it's not. It ceases to become the aim when something blocks you from getting there. And what happens when something blocks you from getting there, that becomes the aim. What is blocking you?
Mm.
That
Mhm,
that
mhm.
that becomes the new focus. And the outcome of that is not important until it happens. While ever it's not happening, it's not important. What's important is for you to be able to observe it without getting lost in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I forget to do, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's
When
okay.
I'm,
If you forget
yeah,
to do it, that becomes the aim. When you remember that you don't know that you've forgotten until you remember that you've forgotten. And when you realize that you've forgotten, then that becomes the new aim. Oh, I forgot. Well, wasn't
mhm.
that clever? That got me away from where I was going. I forgot.
Yeah, yeah, because now I can um, see the thought coming up. Not every thought, but
Yeah.
sometimes I can catch it. I'm going through sensation. I was okay, but I have to go back and be the observer there.
Mm.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
you find that you're not doing that, then that becomes the
that-
new aim.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We we can't we can't um, make a path. We can't cut our way through the bush. We have to find where it leads us. Where is the path of least resistance? We go there.
Hmm.
Wherever it wants to move us, whichever direction it wants to turn us in, we happily go there.
So it means that everything stays the same. Thoughts are coming, sensation is coming, but you take a step back and you watch it. Why is it that sometimes I hear saying, but it falls away? By seeing it, by observing it,
Yeah,
it falls
yeah,
away then. Yeah,
yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
Or it
Yeah,
changes. It may not fall away, but it changes. It
yeah.
and probably it will eventually fall away, if not quickly, more slowly. But it leads us. It leads us into more interesting territory. It takes us, yeah, yeah. I mean, we can be very glib about it, and we can say, "Oh, we're in the flow. We're just in the flow of whatever happens."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
but here,
yeah.
no, there is an intention in the background that we are looking to see more detail. We're looking to get closer. We're looking to see how we operate by observing what is happening.
Mhm.
So we're not going to
Yes,
get lost. Yeah,
yes, Scott had a practice that we had to like putting thoughts in on the screen in
yeah,
front of us, seeing that there is distance in front of us. And then when the thought falls away, the sensation also falls away. But he doesn't use that anymore because he's digging too deep and going to the repressed sensation, and that's more, he's left that path and doesn't use that anymore
yeah,
so
yeah,
much. So,
yeah.
but I think it's really useful to see that there is no I, and he doesn't work with that anymore. So
But you know that's the case, don't you? You know that there is no.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and that exercise is like it's it's not useful anymore. It might come back and it might be useful again under certain circumstances, but the aim is not to get rid of the sensation. If that's the end goal, that's one way to do it, to get rid of the sensation, and we can see. But what did you notice? Did you notice that by putting the thoughts up on the blackboard, what you did was you took the legs out from underneath the sensation.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so the sensation goes, but it didn't reveal what those legs were. It didn't reveal what the sensation rested on. Why was the sensation there? That's what we want to see now. So we're at a deeper level than we were before when we were just. So the first step is really to see that we're lost in thoughts.
hmm,
And then when we can see that, we can see that, there are sensations there that the thoughts relate to. And then we go the next step and we can go, and those sensations are, are resting on something else.
hmm,
And
hmm.
we want to see what that something else is.
Yeah,
And when we see that, we'll recognize that what it's resting on is a story that comes from other sensations.
yeah.
And
And
so
then he claims that's more mom and dad stuff, what's coming up then.
it
Like,
usually
yeah.
very often is at that level. That's
Mhm.
right. Yeah, yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
to say it's mum and dad stuff is is a good general thing, um, but it's not really. What it is our interpretation that we had at the time when the mum and dad stuff was going on.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So right back then we learned we 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 experienced unpleasantness of some kind, and we
Hmm.
learned ways of coping with that,
Yeah.
ways to minimize it, ways to avoid it, ways to escape from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it was too dangerous to feel it then,
Yeah,
back then.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's right.
Mm.
And that varied. I mean, I recently had an epiphany how, we have the infant who is helpless and very much in survival mode. But by the
Mhm.
time that infant becomes a teenager, it's full of anger and resentment and so on. And
Yeah.
that's a development that we also have to look at. So we have to reparent that as well. we have to say, yeah, you're not an angry teenager anymore. You don't need to be that way, So firstly, we
Yeah.
don't need to be a sad victim as an infant. And then we don't need to be an angry teenager, and so on. So, of course, this is very gross. It's much more subtle than that, but yeah. So when we get to a point where triggers from those experiences, it's optimistic to say that they stop happening completely, but they don't happen very much. And what we start to see is only that stuff that hasn't been examined before. And so the result of that is that there's not much going on at all from that part of our life, that part of our being. It gets pretty freed up. But they'll for a long time there'll be bits that will get triggered for the first time. And once they come up, because as we get better and better at this, as they come up, we'll just go, oh, okay, there you go, right, and let it go, and it won't come back again. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. You mean that there is, by seeing and catching the thought, that there is less emotion with it?
yeah, less involvement with it. Yes.
So it's only the thought that vanishes and the sensation is not yet there,
Yeah.
or
Well,
not.
yeah, that's right. So what we have is we have this cycle of things where we have thought, sensation, thought, sensation, thought,
Yeah,
sensation, thoughts, all day. We have a
yeah,
story, and we respond to the story. Story,
yeah,
response, story, response. Yeah. And where we want to get to is where we're not responding to old stories. We're just responding to the interpretation we have now of what's in front of us.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course, you cannot see everything what's going on, so it would be too much, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in the moment. Yeah, yeah. But sometimes I think when I feel sensation, the thought is coming up from out that
Yeah.
sensation instead of there is a thought and then there is sensation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like it's the other way. So there's sensation, and that makes thought going on because it wants to get away.
Yeah.
And then thought is happening from that sensation out. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, it's a story in my head that there's this hierarchical thing. So if we have a sensation, that's a response to something. Uh, but that produces its own stories, which
Hmm.
in turn produces the next response.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's
Yes.
a constant loop that happens,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
a spiral, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not really a case of one comes from the other, one comes from the other. I mean, it's just constantly that sensation,
Yeah.
story, sensation, story, sensation, story. And of course, when I say story, it can be multiple stories, and it can be very complex stories, and it can be totally unconscious as well as whatever. It's way more complex than just this simplistic way that we're looking at it now. But what we're
Uh,
trying to do is just get a taste of the the process that happens once we can see that. It, uh, can we reach a point where we can say what I'm responding to is something that is happening now, or am I responding to something that I've been carrying at a subconscious level from before? And so So an example might be, I don't know, examples are hard. An example might be that somebody, say your parents told you you were a naughty girl when you spoke with your mouth full.
Mm.
Just an example. I made it up, you know. It's something that I've experienced. And you are at the table and you're eating lunch, and suddenly you get this feeling that you get this sensation that uh, that you're being naughty, right? And you realize that, well, you've just got a very full mouthful of food, but you recognize that the feeling isn't a feeling that came from having a mouthful of food now. It came from you being told that you were naughty when you had a mouthful of food from way back when. And so you can see what I'm trying to get at is that the feeling that you got now triggered. It was,
Sensation from
yes,
before.
it was,
Yeah.
yes, you're really relating to that what was before, because right now you realize that, well, yeah, I've got a lot in my mouth, but but I'm not a naughty girl because I did that, you know.
Yeah. I have an example from I was yesterday in IKEA. IKEA, you say it IKEA.
Yeah, yeah,
So I bought something I had to pay, but there was a couple standing before me, and there was an empty, uh, how do you call it, where you can pay casa? I
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
know.
Cash
Yeah,
register. Yeah.
yeah. So they were waiting to somebody to order them to go there, and I was like, what are you waiting for? So I said, don't you go, then I go. And then they get a little bit angry, but don't be so impatient. And it was a remembering of my dad, and it was like, oh, I'm getting punished again. I'm doing
Perfect.
something wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Yes. Yes. So you can see that that you weren't responding to them. They just triggered what was already
Yeah.
inside you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fact that you saw it tells me that next time that happens, you'll just probably laugh at the whole situation. You won't get triggered because you'll recognize the connection. It'll be done and dusted. It'll be gone, finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
If
it did something with me, and then I had to think about it, what was going on now, and it was okay, it was about my parents. Now it was there was time in between. It was not immediately so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the brilliant thing is that it simply takes that seeing to change it. It it it,
yeah,
it disconnects from the original trigger.
yeah, yeah,
So next time somebody calls you impatient in a situation like that, I'll bet that your response is quite different. Instead of feeling like a naughty girl being impatient, you'll just laugh at the situation. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, maybe.
Mm.
Yeah.
And maybe not too, it depends.
Yes,
Sometimes it
yeah,
takes multiple seeings to be freed from something,
yeah,
depending how deeply ingrained it is, and depending the quality of your seeing. Yeah. But what
mhm,
you showed me, what you said to me was, oh, I recognize this. I could almost hear my father telling me about being impatient.
Yeah. I once had it so much, but a few years ago, it was like my father was here talking to me, like, and I was like, oh, really like that. I really froze into it. That's better now, but it's not gone. You know,
Mm,
it's still my father talking to me, saying things, and yeah, it's not
yeah,
releasing that much. It's like he's still there. It's better always because I did a lot of work on it. So,
yeah,
but sometimes it catches me, and yeah.
sure. The attitude you have to it is also really important. You know, that being lighthearted and recognizing it as coming from that conditioning that you had. Uh, if you get tense and say, "Oh, I've got to work on this to fix it," right?
Uh,
That won't help. You know, that can perpetuate it. You know, if you're lighthearted and you can just go, "Oh, yeah, that's interesting." That's that's the quickest way for it to let go
okay.
completely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now,
Maybe I'm too focused on it or something.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and you can take it very seriously too. That's true. Yeah. Um,
Mm.
and the time might come, you will probably experience where it will happen, but it will have no emotional charge at all. Right? It will just be a reminder of what used to happen,
Mhm. Yeah, that
not
would be
being an
great.
actual trigger for a current situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot did already fall away, you know, and but some things are sticking, and
Yeah. And but
yeah,
just be very careful and don't think that those things that are still sticking require a more intense working to fix them. We can't fix things. If we
yeah,
intend to fix them, we just make them stronger. The way to fix them is to not fix them, just be
yeah,
interested in,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I know that, and still, my system is doing something, I guess. So yeah, uh, yeah, being more relaxed with it.
Yeah. And you can't even do that. You can just be interested if it doesn't happen and pleased and interested if it does happen. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, anyway, when I played golf, it became very obvious that if I hit a bad shot, that by the time I realized it was a bad shot, it was finished. It was already done. There was nothing to do about it.
Hmm.
But if I had uh, an attitude where I had something to fix, I could be pretty sure that I was going to mess up the next shot too. Whereas if I could let it go, then the next shot simply became a fresh start, a
Yeah,
new
yeah.
opportunity.
I know what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it's a new moment, new, yeah.
mm. So how is Kelly going to bring this baby up without
Oh, so nice.
yeah, without teaching it a whole lot of shitty stuff that we've learned? How's that going to happen?
I don't know. This is my grandson Elijah, babysitting today. Totally in love. They're lovely, aren't they? Hey. Just a little bit. I could resonate with that talk. So I went on to a IFS meeting the other day, and we did an exercise where we went, you know, quite deep inside ourselves, and I felt like I really dropped. And then I felt like I hit something, and there was just so much rage, and hurt, and it overwhelmed me, and I got quite upset. And I've found since then I've been avoiding, totally avoiding. I'm quite good at deceiving myself because I lie to myself and think, well, no, you're just trying different meditations, or you're just doing this. But I am avoiding. You know, one of the telltale signs for me is when I do a lot of housework, and I've been quite busy with the housework. And I think what it is it's just scared me and overwhelmed me. Because I think I did go, you know, quite deep, and it feels quite childlike. So one thing I have been doing is like soothing and talking to that child, and engaging with her. But if anyone's got any more advice on that, you know, just how to, like, you know, because a little part of me is like quite pleased that I've engaged with the child, but then I'm still quite scared as well.
Mm. That was a pretty scared child, was it?
Very scared. I got a really strong image in my mind of a little girl like crouched up in a cage, and then some big teeth, which was kind of like the rage of, like, you know, get the hell away from me, you know. I just felt an intense, like, rage, fear, lostness, loneliness. There was all that. I don't think I'm a very emotional person, you know, and I started crying on the meeting. You talking? Yeah, okay. Which, you know, which is good because, you know, to get my emotions out. But I think it has, yeah, there is fear there. When I'm doing body work now, it's like, you know, as soon as I feel myself dropping, it's like, don't drop too far, don't go too far, we don't want to go there. So yeah, just advice there, really.
Mm. So what do you think will happen if you do go too far down into that?
I just think I want everything yesterday. I'm quite impatient, and I just think that this is something I've got to be very gentle. Lots of self-care and love, you know, to be able to form that, like, relationship, I suppose, with this little girl. Because I think if I go, my natural instinct is to go charging into things. I just think that'll make things worse. I just feel like I've got to go gentle, but not avoid.
Mm. So you mentioned a fear of going too deep too quickly.
Yeah. I think what it is for me is, I know it's a story, but my mum was a very, very angry lady. And so obviously I was a very angry child, angry teenager, angry adult. And then I got with an angry partner, and I learned to stop being angry. So now anger is a massive trigger for me. It's any emotion, like sadness, anything like that, you know, I quite happily cry, but anger is a big one. I've got a lot of fear around anger.
Mm. So if you were to get, if you were to experience that anger, you would cause damage.
No, I don't think I'd be violent. I just, my biggest fear is turning back into the person that I used to be, because I didn't like that person. And I feel like, you know, this person that I am today, I'm learning to love her.
Mhm.
And like her. And I just have this thing in my head that I'm scared that it will just consume me, you know, and I'll be that person again, I suppose.
Mm. And can you describe that person for me?
Just really angry, didn't give a damn about anybody. Just walls as high as just grey, very grey, no light in my life. So prickly, scared of everything, scared of the world, angry at everything. Just all that. It felt like there was just no light there at all. Very lonely as well.
And are you saying that it feels like that person is still there inside you and could come out again if you aren't careful?
No, I don't. I'm just scared. Kind of like, I feel like I've caged all that down, so there's emotion on top of emotion, and I feel like if I let it out, I don't know what it is, but I'm scared of it. I'm putting stories on it, but if I'm honest, I don't know what really I'm really scared of. But I am really scared.
Mm, mm. So what you just said, I think is really significant. I don't know what I'm scared of. I just know that I'm really scared.
Mm.
Yeah. Is there a part of you that says, in order to change that, you have to know what it is you're really scared of?
I have a part of myself that likes to, it comes into play quite often. I like to analyse everything. I like to know everything. I like the stories because the stories make me feel secure. But then another part like says you don't need the stories, it's about the feelings. It's just experience the feelings. But I'd say probably the one that when I just come out of summer, it's probably the one that likes to know everything. It seems probably more dominant. I analyzes everything, likes to, you know, like get into the stories. And then when I've got a little bit of space away from it, I can drop more into the other one that isn't so bothered about the story.
Yep. So can you see the paradox there, that you recognize that there's something down there. You say that you don't need to know what it is, but at the same time you say you like to analyze and know what the story is. So there's a contradiction, or a paradox more than a contradiction. There's two opposing views happening at the same time. Yes. yet they're not going to be, this is my logic, they're not going to be really opposing. They're going to be assisting each other in some way. I don't know how. Yeah. And what they both want is to keep you away from that. So when you're going to if you get into the part of you that wants to analyze, it would seem that if you're good at analyzing, you'll get to what the anger's about. And of course, that's going to make you more afraid. So the logic is that the analyzing is actually going to keep you away from what that anger is about, because it's got the same job as the fear, which is to keep you away from that. And I also hear that you say you don't really need to know what it is in order for it to change. But I don't believe you. I think you do. I think you do think you need to know what it is in order to change it. I agree. I don't think you need to know either, but yeah.
But I think that's kind of like the more dominant one. I like to know. I like to know everything.
Yeah.
I like to know how clocks tick. And I'm just trying to work with that.
Yeah. So the idea is that if you know, you feel more secure, you feel more in control.
Mm.
Yeah. So how do you think we can defuse or neutralize that angry little girl that's locked up in there? What needs to happen for that?
I think it's self-love. I think I've spent most of my life absolutely hating myself, hating the world, and I feel like this is the first time that I can be quite loving now. I feel like I'm probably ready now to be able to show love to this little girl, and compassion, and be gentle. Whereas I almost feel like, because obviously I'm an addict as well, I've been just like, I spoke to my friend about this and it kind of blew my mind, but it's like, I think all she wants is love. And I've been like, here, shush, shush, have a bottle of wine, or here, shush, shush, have some sugar, just to, like, you know, shut her up. Whereas, and I just think she wants to be heard. Whereas I think now, I've got a good shot at being able to give that love to her.
Mm-hmm. So what form do you think that love could be?
Just sitting with her and listening to her, feeling the sensations, not ignoring her or trying to bribe her.
Mm-hmm. So accepting.
Yeah. But I kind of know that I have to be very gentle, But that's kind of like another thing that I battle with, because there's gentle and there's avoiding. Them
Mm.
two seem to together.
Yeah.
I want to take things slowly and be slow and compassionate, but I don't want to like use that as an excuse to avoid,
Gotcha.
which I'm very good at.
So can you recognize when that is avoidance rather than compassion or something else? How do you know it's avoidance when it's happening?
It does sometimes take me a couple of days, because I'm quite good at lying to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
As
you
we
know,
all are, of course. Yeah.
yeah, I tend to believe the lies. So I can be lost for a couple of days and then think, oh, you're avoiding. You
Mm.
know, you've had a bit of a fright. Because I don't like, I think for me it was quite a shock that I got so emotional. Because I find it quite hard to open up to new people. It was a new meeting, and there was a bit of afterburn with, like, you know, embarrassment of crying first in a meeting. I know it's about getting in touch with your feelings, but it was quite a shock for me. So then I think that's like when the avoidance comes in, you know, because I've been shocked. So I kind of know what to do, but it's just quite hard to do it sometimes.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Of course it is. Yeah. So how can you express to this little girl the gentleness uh, at the same time as not avoiding?
It's the sensation seems to be very deep in my gut, and it feels like, I know, it just feels like very far away. When I think it felt really deep. I think I'm just going to have to be patient, you know, patient and self-soothing.
Mm.
Um, self-soothing. I'm not very good at this love thing, or I don't think I am, you know. So I'm kind of winging it, if I'm honest.
Mm.
You know how to do it.
Mm. So when you say be patient,
Mm.
I get the feeling that there is some future uh, story about the future there, that if I am patient, something will happen. If I am patient, things will change, whatever it is. But patience is about, it seems to be about now, but it isn't. It's always about the future, is it not?
I feel like my patience is maybe more about avoidance than the future.
You
Like,
you
kind
lost
of
me with that
story.
one. Yeah, go on. You lost me with that.
Yeah, I think kind of like the story I'm telling myself is be slow, be patient,
Oh, so that's
uh,
avoidance. Yeah.
be slow, be patient. And I think there's more avoidance in there than an outcome for the future.
Okay. Yep. So what, when you say avoidance, what comes to mind when I ask what is it you're avoiding?
Anger. That's the big thing. Anger,
Oh,
rage. It feels really primal.
right.
Um,
So
just
being more
really.
Be more specific. So anger is not a thing. We can't put anger in a bottle. We can't find it there. So when you say you're avoiding anger, that's the big thing. You're avoiding the expression of it, or are you avoiding the feeling of it, or are you avoiding the consequences from it? What, be more specific about what it is that you're avoiding with anger.
I think best way to describe it, I just feel like I could do with like going to a field, dropping on my knees and just screaming. That's how powerful it feels.
Screaming in anger.
Yeah.
If you imagine that you're doing that right now, if you were to just right now imagine yourself go into a field and flop down onto your knees and throw your arms out to the side and look up and scream the biggest amount of anger that could possibly come out of you, erupt like a volcano, right? And you can just as you imagine this, you can just also feel the intensity of the energy involved and the incredible effort in coming out, the muscles in your chest that are doing what they're doing as you scream at the heavens this incredible rage. You know, you get that? Can you get a bit of an image of that happening?
Yeah.
And then you reach a point of exhaustion and you slump. And what happens then in this fantasy? After the rage has been fully expressed and it's out, and there is just this sense of limpness, of tiredness, of exhaustion as it from the expression of all of that.
I think I've built it up into something else because that just felt like, you know, if I need to have a cry, I'll quite happily cry, and then afterwards it's like a release. And it feels nice. And I think if I did that, it'd just be a release.
Right. So you're not expressing the anger before that cry, are you? You're going straight to that cry, eh? Or is that cry that comes after the anger's been expressed?
It's the cry had come out after the anger had been expressed.
Okay,
I think.
great. Yeah. So that's what I was hoping for. And that is then that sense of release. That sense of oh, I don't know. Is it emptiness? What is that sense? Where's that cry now? What is behind? What is that cry expressing? It's that release it's got to be so much less tension, so much less energy, so much less stress now. That cry is one of what? What is it? A cry of compassion for yourself? What is it? Where is it? What is it? What does it feel like? What comes to mind first thing? What's that?
Relief.
Relief. Did you say relief? Yeah.
Relief.
Yeah. So what are you feeling right now, Kelly? Put your hand on what part of your body is got the most intense feeling. What right now? What are you feeling? Where are you feeling?
Round here.
Yeah.
Riley! Leave Elijah with mum now, mate.
All right. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Mum.
So is that around the temples or right around the head up there that you were feeling?
No, it feels just round. It's not the temples. It almost like I could feel a rising, and then like a pound. You know, like a contracting and extracting. It like a pressure going like that in my head.
And what would you describe that pressure as?
Kind of feels like when it comes to my head, warm, hot.
So is it more an expansion or is it more a contraction?
It feels like both. It feels like it's kind of going like that.
I can't see you.
In,
You're
oh, sorry. It feels like it's doing both. It's moving it, like that.
okay. So a pulsing, would you say?
Yeah. That's probably a good description.
So what do you imagine just happened? What does it feel like? What is it? What is your um what is your intuition telling you about what did you just experience with all of that?
That I let a little bit up. A little bit up. I felt that quite a few times, but I avoid.
So tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you, what would happen if you emptied it all out? If there was none of that left, what would happen to Kelly? How would she be?
Probably more free, not as scared.
Mm. So more free suggests that there's less freedom now.
Yeah, there's definitely. I pretend to everybody that I'm all right, but there is a lot of suffering still. I just have a sense that a lot of people got the book of life to know how to do life, and I didn't get that book. So I feel like I just feel different sometimes,
Different from how you imagine other people are.
Yeah.
Yeah. do you think that, oh, it stopped. What that baby was expressing a moment ago, can you relate to that? Do you think that's a bit what you feel like?
Yeah, it's just babies. That's their language, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's expressing
Yeah,
some deep hurt, isn't it, of some kind,
yeah,
whatever it is. We don't know what it is, but yeah, it's an expression of that. Yeah,
yeah,
but that baby, it's finished, and for the baby, it's finished. It's not hanging on to it anymore, is it? But Kelly hangs on to it.
yeah. You're
Because
right. I
I
do.
guess it came back again and again and again. Of course, that's why. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's up like that?
So, what do you imagine that baby felt at the moment that it stopped crying? What happened? What changed the way
comfort,
comfort
comfort.
and
His needs got met.
how did it get that comfort? Was it
His needs got met.
sorry?
His needs got met.
Yeah, whatever they were. Somehow that whether it was contact or whether it was food or whatever it was, something happened. Yeah.
Yeah,
But Kelly's needs can't be met because there's so much anger there that the needs themselves are not contactable. We can't get access to them while that anger is there, can we?
no.
So the paradox is that the anger is an expression of the need, but it's also a protection that stops the need from being met at
Mm.
the same time. Quite opposite things, but they're at the same time. Yeah. So when the baby's crying, let's imagine it didn't sound like it to me there, but let's imagine that baby was crying with some anger in its crying. Would you keep away from it, or would you still offer it a connection, cuddles, comfort,
I'd
even
still
though
offer it.
it was
I'd
angry?
still offer connection. Yeah,
Of course you would. Yeah. Yet Kelly's anger seems to be big enough to stop that from happening, eh?
yeah. I see what you just said there, because it's like I'd straight away go to the baby and offer it comfort and thing, but I find it quite difficult to do that with myself,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it's no different.
No, absolutely no different. Yeah.
I'll have to try and remember that when it comes off.
Well, yeah, you don't try and remember those things. They'll appear or they won't appear, but I suspect they will appear for you. And because you know that anger is there, you don't actually have to wait for it to be in action, being expressed, to offer that comfort and connection, that love. that compassion. That you know it's there, so you can go anytime and offer that without waiting for it to be active in its expression, that anger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a shell, it's just something that once we can move past that outer bit and get to the inner bit, then we start to see details of things. At the moment, it's just this big blanket that is over everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I suspect you're ready. You're definitely ready. Look, I don't suspect. I know you're ready. You're ready to look under the blanket. You're ready to get there. Yeah. And you don't have to feel safe to do it, although feeling safe is nice. You just have to be like when the baby's crying, regardless of how much it wants to push you away, you're going to give it a cuddle. You're going to have compassion for it and know that it will soften and relax into the comfort that you give it, even though it might be expressing anger. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's just such tiny, tiny little steps. But that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was exhausting.
Thank you, Vince.
Mhm. Hmm. How have you been, Don? I haven't heard from you for a little while.
I'm okay. Thanks, Vince. I don't know if you can see the hands. Anna has her hand up there for a while.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know if
who's
you can see
hand
the
up.
hands on your
Anna,
screen. So, yeah.
come on, Anna. I wasn't seeing that. Yeah, thanks, Don.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vince.
I know. No, it's just something similar happening here as well. All subconscious stuff is coming up. Uh, so like life is putting through challenging situations. Have this fear to speak up for myself. Like fear to set boundaries, fear to annoy people, fear of their anger, fears they getting, like fear of rejection. And but a situation was such and that's work related, like I really can't, it really, really there is something like I really cannot undertake, like physically can't do that task, so I had to speak up. There was just like no option. You just life puts you in situation like there is just no option. You really have to speak up because you can't do it. There is no way to avoid it anymore. So I did, like I sent an email to my management and they calling me for a meeting now. And so I woke up this morning and I can see like something is just, like some whispers coming up. So I start, like listening what is happening there. And there's like two opponent forces, like fighting in between each other. like there was like something is badly wrong with you. Like, don't speak up for your, like, don't speak up. You just make trouble for yourself. And then there is that, like, opponent side that want that authentic expression and just want, like, and then you can feel that anger energy in arms and legs and just like breaking free and just like all the, showing them face. It's like an animal, like a hissing and just showing teeth and just like things like this. And so yeah, it was like very interesting to see how, that old way to keep yourself safe. Like, like I'm just like, okay, you go for that meeting, what happens there? And then it's just like, you merge with wall, so you're not seen, you're not heard, you don't exist. So to keep yourself safe, and then the other side, just like, I can say and do what I want, and just, like that real need to express and say, and just like, just let me be myself, just let me be. Yeah, it's just like very, there's not like, there is like some sensory like happens, but there is like nothing major. It's kind of like more you see like how subconscious beliefs are coming up and how this, that repressed part which wasn't allowed to be expressed, that's, like kind of overtaken that protective side. So a fear is still there, like even now when I'm talking about that, like you can really feel like it's all like, it's like a flow in the whole body, and like a wee shake is there. So yeah. A fear of unknown, fear to stepping into unknown, a fear not knowing how to handle that, that need to control situation.
So Anna, does your intuition tell you that this is about the current situation, or is this current situation being triggered by something else, something from before?
It's definitely from something would be, like from conditioning, because that's what has been learned, oh yeah, I also looked, like what happens if you do speak up? And then there was just like instant, like reply, you don't have enough strength. That's what, like you're not strong enough, like you're weak, you can't stand up for yourself. And that's what normally happened, in the past. I'm getting very upset and I'm shutting down and I'm like into crying.
Mm.
So, it is for me, it is nice to see I'm getting in touch with that anger part, because anger was really, really repressed in my, like case, because that heart part, like on sadness and crying, that was just like there. And normally, like if I sit there, just like really stuff, and then I'm getting out and just like boom, burst and cry. So, but I know it's definitely all, like childhood condition stuff, like life condition stuff is coming up. So
Yep.
it's just projections in the future. Avoidance, it is actually to avoid to feel hurt again and not being able to stand up for myself. That's what it is. It's that fear I will not be able to stand up and speak up for myself.
Okay. So tell me, do you have a memory of the first time, or yeah, silly thing, but anyway, something like the first time that you ever couldn't stand up for yourself? And right. So at some point, you tried to stand up for yourself, and it ended up disastrous. It didn't work. You got pushed down again in some way when you tried to.
there is nothing really, you know, like nothing like clear memory coming up. What did come up today and that morning, you know, like when I was looking into that, there was like one picture, like, you know, that someone wants to beat you, you know, like someone is
Yeah.
over you and just like really in attack. And that, you know, like that came up. So there is kind of that fear, you know, like, and I also, what I can clearly see, you know, like anything, all the situation, I really just like defense mode. I just need to defend. I need to defend. And it's just like, you know, it's just like really like acting out. It's just like that impulse to act out. Even, you know, like, I don't know how the situation is going to be, you know, like, might go in a meeting and everything will be fine. People might be friendly and chatting, but no, you know, like, there is just like this expectation of they going to attack me. Yeah. And I just, you know, and I need to protect and I need to speak up and I need to do something because, you know, the worst thing what can happen, I'm breaking tears again. And I'm just powerless and helpless and I can't stand up for myself. That's the worst fear, you know, like not being protected.
So is
Anna,
Yeah.
what you're saying sort of really resonates strongly with me. I had a situation where I feel sort of in a way deeply, I can only use the word gaslighted because
that's
somebody,
a big time, Rowena.
sorry?
That's a big
Yeah,
time. That's also,
and it's
you know,
like, it's like where I'm coming from. And I feel I'm feeling, got some sensations coming up. Where I'm coming from isn't acceptable to this person. And so there's all these shoulds and criticisms. Then I'm sort of looking into this because this actually happened yesterday. And all this sort of the projections of like, why, you know, this is the experience that's going on here, but to that person, they're writing their own story about my experience, and somehow I'm falling for it because I'm not coming from this place of this is my experience. It's like I'm gaslighting myself from the experience that, you know, things aren't necessarily easy. People, this ideological view of how things should be and how one should express oneself in a really, have the right answer from, you know, straight out in the open, whereas underneath it's confusing. But then there's that fear of just not, like wanting to leave that space because it's not socially acceptable in a way. And to talk about it, then people will, you know, they have their story about it. And then at the same time, I've got a story about that person not allowing that person just to also be the way they are. I mean, it's their dog, you know, like a dog, I'm a dog barking my bark and somebody else. And so it was like a really confusing type of, like, where do you get to the bottom of it? And it feels really icky. And so I really resonate. It's a bit different, but still it's such a vulnerable, when you start putting, you know, putting yourself out a little, and then, you know, you've got to wait and then receive feedback. It's, yeah.
There was something like this as well, you know, like once I was notified about that upcoming meeting, then all of them fears start to come up and just thoughts going like 1,000 miles per hour. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's they going to say? What is going to happen? And I'm just sitting, you know, like loudly they're speaking, you know, like, I'm just like, okay, what is the worst can happen? You know, like they can't sack me and things like this. And the girl I work with, she says like, Anna, why are you catastrophizing? Why are you worrying? Why you don't know and this and this and this? Oh my gosh, I just could start, like, I just feel like it's hurting even more what she's saying. And then I was like looking at that, like, why? Because I feel invalidated, like, how am I feeling? It's, like, it's like I don't have a right to feel scared. I don't have a right to worry. I don't have a right to have them thoughts. I have to be fixed and I have to be changed. So she feels okay because she's not okay the way I feel. Fuck her. I can feel the way I am fucking feeling. I hate when people do that. I literally hate when people do that. No, you are wrong. You should be different now. And there's like, oh. What I was like, like, just looked back at that, like, okay, I go to that meeting, okay, they do say something that hurt me, and I break in tears, and I just, like, feeling hurt and all that, and I'm weak and I'm defeated. And then what worse comes up, they will laugh at me. They will laugh at me. I will be humiliated. So that's what is actually fear about, like, you will be just isolated, rejected, humiliated, and completely just like worthless, dumped and skip. Basically, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. The biggest fear is just like to be isolated, to be not belong, to be dumped, humiliated and dumped. I know that's all stories.
Yeah, but it's got
that's
that depth of in a way self-abandonment or this gaslighting that went on, that I feel, because of societal values, ideology about how people should be, and something that happened, way back when it was like, you were told, no, this is good, and somehow something got left.
like, if you cry, you've been laughed at. Probably that would happen at some stage, like at like during childhood, like when you're feeling hurt, you've been laughed at, and you like, and you really just made like your worst of nothing. And that's, like, that's what needs to be protected there. And that's, like, that's what really avoidance of, to get that humiliation and laughed at, and, like, and just like, so you're completely unworthy. Yeah, something
and so
like
it's
that.
like when there's still a hook. So it's like, okay, okay, we've just got to go in there and let that hook somehow hook.
The best,
I don't know,
the
or
best way is
not,
just, like, the best thing is just expose yourself to that situation. But what I'm thinking, like, I really need to stay tuned into a body when I'm talking to someone, because what happens, I normally get here and I start the defense, and it's just like avalanche. And I'm out of a body and I can't be present with myself. So I'm thinking, like, just be authentic, like, if you need to pause, just take a pause. If you need to tune into yourself, you close your eyes and tune into it. Just be authentic, just express yourself what you need, just take your space, take your time, set your boundaries, like, this is me and I need this here.
Yeah, but you
it's
know what?
easier said than done.
I mean, I exactly can hear what you're saying and tell myself the same thing, but I do know that it's diverting from that feeling that's taking us out of the body, and so there's a doer that wants to say, okay, I've got to manage this because I've got to be more in my body so that then I can manage, but actually it's somehow exposing this whole feedback mechanism and getting into that, and yeah, it's not easy.
It's all projections, because you don't know what you're stepping into. You literally don't know. You can go there and they will be the most compassionate, like, and kind people. You don't know. But projection is like the worst
Yeah.
case scenario, because if you imagine the worst, you can handle it.
Yeah.
What comes up for me, Anna, is that this whole thing, all of this story that you just told about what's going on and everything, is an escape, is a diversion from what it's really about.
Hmm.
And this is my imagination, so please, you don't have to go along with my story, but I can see that fist, and I can see after you get bashed down, you will get humiliated. You'll be laughed at after you've been.
See, once you say that, I just like instantly cries coming up.
So this whole situation is just, it's triggered that stuff. So you can get involved in this situation to the nth degree. You can get really involved in it, and while you're doing that, you're successfully avoiding what it's really about.
But what is being, this sounds stupid question, but what is it to be humiliated? Because that's a word, an idea, but it's what's releasing all underneath that, all the fear of rejection, abandonment, being laughed at.
Let's ask Anna, what does it feel like to be laughed at?
It's just like you're destroyed. You're just completely destroyed. Like it's like you're gone. Like you don't exist anymore. That's just end of you. That's it. It's just end of you.
Yep.
It's just, like you're just like you've been beaten down, completely flat, rolled over, and that you don't exist anymore. That's completely destroyed, completely.
Yep. It's not even a worthless existence. It is actually annihilation.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
you gone.
Yep.
You gone.
Yeah.
It's even worse than death because you don't know what death is.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like you don't exist. It's like you exist as
As
pain.
you don't exist.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's just like
what is
you
left
exist as a ghost. Like,
Yeah.
you just like you're gone. You're gone. Like you're still here, but you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like all your humanity is just like completely destroyed. Like, yeah,
So
you're just left.
say that again. Instead of saying you're gone, say I'm gone. I have no existence. Say it in the first person.
Oh my gosh, that's actually really touching something. Oh. 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 Oh, oh, oh God, it really touched something. That's how my releases are happening.
Say that one again. That's how what?
That's the way my releases are happening. You know, the energetic releases. I'm just like really going to shaking. Oh,
Does that make this current situation seem really puny, almost insignificant?
I don't know.
I mean, the feelings about this meeting are nothing compared to what you just experienced.
Me, to be honest, this meeting is just completely gone out of my mind now.
Mm.
It's going to take a while now. I think I'm going to put my camera off now and just go into that sensation. I just need to
Absolutely.
let it, yeah.
Mm.
Because it's just, yeah, okay, I need to process it. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank
Don't
you
get
very
lost in
much
the
for
thought,
touching
though.
into it.
Yeah. Okay.
It was very good point. Means, you know, like when you say it, like to speak like from first person perspective, because it really just, it was just exactly just touched into.
Mm.
Okay. I'll leave you for a while.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can say something since you asked me a minute ago, Vince.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah. That was really good. With Anna, thank you for doing that. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to say. I was gonna I suppose the simple way of saying is I feel like in the last few weeks I've been more present, whatever that means, like I'm more automatically or easily able to come back from distraction or something and earlier in the day and not feel so identified with whatever thought processes are going on and not feel so stressed in a work situation. I've a couple of times been in meetings in work looking around me going, what's wrong with these people? They're so stressed. And I'm just watching these stressed people. I'm thinking, what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong. It's all fine. It's going fine. What's wrong? And I'm thinking maybe it's because I've been so stressed for so long I didn't notice. Or maybe they're just at random, they're stressed this week. Or maybe I'm thinking the other thought is like, maybe I'm making them stressed by not being anxious enough for them, you know. I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, I've been more, yeah, kind of confident that I can come back. Or I don't know, can come back. I just come back
Yeah.
and I stay and more here. And it's not a bed of roses or whatever that phrase might be here, but it's better than being distracted.
Mm.
And I feel, yeah, more frequently here for longer and more, yeah. And yeah, I went in and did a craniosacral thingy yesterday, and I was pretty well calmish before I went in, and I was super calm, and I'm almost like very calm when I left. The most calm I've been in a long time when I came. But then, yeah, what happens as well, maybe not surprisingly, then I get surprisingly distracted and then disappointed when I get so this morning, the mornings are kind of worse. It takes me a little while to get it together or whatever. And so now I'm like, what time is it now? It's like nearly 2 in the afternoon. I'm not really there yet. I'm ridiculously distracted on ridiculously stressful, trivial things all morning long and very frustrated by it. Going, I wanted to tell Vince a cool story about I'm feeling better, and I feel really distracted about trivial things instead. It's very frustrating. So yeah, so on average, it's getting better, but right now today I'm still, just thinking about stupid stuff that I can't seem to stop myself from thinking about.
Mm.
So yeah.
So is there any excitement about just noticing that things have changed a little?
Yeah, I mean, a little. Right now I'm not, yeah, but there is a little, yeah, there is a little on the days when I'm that was Lydia, I think, is leaving.
Mm.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. A little bit of excitement, and I feel a bit calmer and more confident, I suppose. And then, of course, I also feel impatient, going, okay, I'm sitting here, but yeah, I do feel a bit better. There's a little bit of confidence that I'm able to stay with, I don't know, whatever's happening or presence for longer, and watch the thoughts and feelings and whatnot, and just watch and not feel as identified. Yeah, so it's a bit of excitement, I suppose. But yeah, as I say, I'm still impatient because it's taking a long time. And the underlying belief is I'm still listening to the same belief that's saying, you're never going to see through this. You've got no hope. That's still there. I'm trying not to completely believe it, but it's still there. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah.
Mm. Hmm. I had something I was going to say to you, and I've forgotten what it is now. And it was all of 1-2 seconds ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody asked me last night, I don't know what, anyway, I was talking to another non-duality person last night, and she was going, how are you now? And I'm like, oh, I think I'm depressed. I don't know. And she goes like, how are you? Are you sure you're depressed? Maybe you're just thinking about that from like history or something. And I'm like, I don't know the answer to that, because I kind of, even right now, I could say I'm somewhat present, not that distracted. I can see the room, I can hear things and senses and whatnot, and what's wrong really. But so maybe I do have to go into history. I don't know. But like last week, the week before, I had a couple of very good therapy sessions where I sort of unraveled myself from inner parts or something for most of the rest of the evening, sort of thing. I was like 90% free of the heavy trip that's going on. And it just felt so different from normal. And normal is just so normal that I kind of go, this is just normal. Life is like difficult. People have to struggle. That's what life is like. And then I kind of unraveled or unblended from some incredibly depressed part of me, and the very frightened part, and the very sort of shutting down part last week before a couple of different sessions. And I was like, oh my God, it's just different like this. It's just so much lighter. Everything seems different when I'm not in this incessant negative trip that just so normal, it feels normal. So yeah. So if I ask myself now, am I depressed right now? I'm like, I kind of, my instinct would be, yeah, I'm so used to it. I just can't see out from under it until it leaves, and suddenly, but do I have to go into thought to discover that, or is it a way of, anyway, I don't know. Maybe that doesn't matter.
I remembered what I was going to ask you too. Do you have a sense of doing that you did the changes or do you have a sense that they happened?
Somewhere between the two. It's more like they happened, and yet I keep on telling myself I have to keep trying. Like this morning, like most mornings, I keep telling myself I need to stop I need to stop going off with those thoughts. I need to come back. I need to keep coming back and not letting myself go off into these stories. And it feels like I have to make an effort, or I have to decide to do that.
Mm.
And yet the longer term thing of coming back feels more automatic.
Mm.
I just find myself back from distraction and go, oh, okay, good. Here I am.
Mm.
And so, yeah.
So even if
And yet, sorry.
a story turns up that says, well, of course it was because I did da 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 dum, you know that it just happened. It was automatic. It was a result of something other than pure effort.
I suppose so, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, when I find myself back from it, it feels like it happened. And yet if I'm like right now, if I were just doing this on my own right now, and I'm sort of on the way towards a distraction and being pissed off about something, and I can feel it pulling me, and I'm going, no, I have to not do that. And it feels like there's an effort being made and there's someone doing it or going on, that there's a choice or something. And
Mm.
whether there's someone here or not, a choice has to be made not to go with that, because that's the habitual thing. A choice has to be made to stop going with that and stay and come back over and over. It still feels like that in the
Yeah,
moment
I
when I'm
get that.
on
Yeah.
the cusp of it, kind of thing.
So is it can you hook in, or maybe in the future rather than now, or in the memory, hook into that there can be those thoughts and there can be the automatic happening, the happening as a result of unknown things, if you like, but not just your effort. But you can still have the thoughts that is your effort is involved. That they don't necessarily have to agree with each other. They just exist.
Um, yeah. I suppose I can. I'm not sure if I understand. I mean, just for this moment, I don't see it as thoughts right now. It feels like an effort, an actual physical effort of pulling myself. So, and I can have a thought about the effort,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it feels like I have to pull myself physically away from the distraction,
Right.
and it feels
Okay.
like a real thing, as it were.
All right. So
So I just,
let's separate the thought and the effort as well. Okay. So let's say you can have the feeling of the effort and know that that's been there many times and it hasn't worked. It
yeah,
hasn't achieved anything. And then you can have the feeling of the effort and it can sit right alongside the fact that you've been okay. You've got into that good space. That they both exist, but they're not actually connected. They're just, there they are. They live in their own worlds. There is the happening and there is the feeling of effort.
yeah. I mean, I can be happy that I can watch it working better or something, that I'm coming back from distraction a bit more frequently. And maybe I just can't bear the notion that I have absolutely no control over it whatsoever and just have to watch it. I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe that's all there is. Maybe it's just kind of, I don't know, soothing me to imagine that I'm the one making the effort,
Yeah,
because
sure,
otherwise I'd be
absolutely. Yeah,
helpless to the
yeah.
whole thing.
And then there's that thing, if you do how can I put it? If you travel to the place where you accept that your effort was somewhat pointless, that does something, doesn't it? That brings up a somewhat uncomfortable feeling about something, eh? Does it?
It's a weird I don't know what I'm saying. I suppose so. What is it? Where do I get to? There's something about surrender there. That word comes to my mind there, and it's like, and I hear people saying something, I don't know, I must have heard Angelo saying something about not making an effort, and it's all seemed to be relaxed and present momenty when you do that. Whereas I feel like, maybe this anyway, is that if I don't make an effort and surrender or something, it's just going to be surrendering to the stories forever and believing them. That's what seems to have happened in practice. I know that's not necessarily what surrender means, but it seems to be I have to choose not to surrender to the stories, or else I don't know. It feels like it feels like that's the conclusion of that. It's going that if there's no choice to be made or no effort or nobody here to do anything,
Gotcha.
the result will be I'll be in a fucking story forever, and I can't bear that thought of that, so I have to try not to do that. But it may be totally bullshit on top of what's happening.
Is there any feeling associated with that last comment that it may be total bullshit?
Well, the first feeling comes to mind is I can't wait until it's obvious that it was bullshit and it no longer is necessary to make. Feeling of delight at the prospect that I will see that and I won't have to make an effort and it will just be fine. But yeah.
But you're closer to that than you were, I think. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
You feel like, yeah?
I think so. Yeah. It seems more. It's more. Yeah. It's more. I can feel it now that I'm talking about it. It's more. Yeah. It feels more possible or something, or more.
Yeah. That's what I was.
More of the time, I'm here watching stuff rather than completely gone with the story for whatever reason. I don't know. Yeah. Of course, I want to know what to do to make it go faster, right?
Yeah. What about it just popped into mind here? What about deserving? Do you deserve it? Do you deserve feeling that good stuff? Or is there some justice in the shit that you get into a lot of the time?
I don't know. The first answer was a bullshit answer that said something like, "There's nobody here to deserve anything." I don't know. That's pretty silly, right?
That's a great avoidance, isn't it?
And then most of when I'm identified, it feels like I do deserve to, the negative trip. I definitely deserve that. But I don't know. Deserving to feel. No, it is. I don't know that even the bullshit answer almost sounds correct. Like if I'm properly not going with the stories, there kind of isn't anyone there in that presence, kind of. And I don't like the feeling of deserving it would all be identification of some kind. I don't know if I'm bullshitting, but but anyway, it's harder for me to feel I deserve something positive. Definitely, that's true. I know, yeah.
But it's not so hard to feel like you deserve something negative.
No, that's not hard.
Sorry, Rob.
Don, I sort of latched on to you saying I can't bear that.
Yeah. Okay.
Could you clarify for yourself, for us, that I can't bear that?
If I believe
it's a little bit like unpacking it, like the unpacking of the humiliation, it's like, what is that? And what is not being able to bear?
Like, I guess I suppose if I believe that I have no control and that the outcome is going to be that I will continue to get taken away by stories forever and I will never awaken or whatever that means, that would feel unbearable to believe that I can't stop myself being taken away by stories for the rest of my life, kind of thing.
Okay, so can you see, there's a couple of things here. You said that would feel unbearable, but is it not more that the thought of that is unbearable?
Yeah.
The thought of that is unbearable, and but you also say that would feel unbearable. Have you actually tried going into feeling what unbearable actually feels like? other than a thought about it? I
don't know how to do.
I don't know quite how to point you in that direction. It's just that again, it's just a rejection of a sort of already of perhaps of previous memories and repetitions and of circumstances, but there's a whole base that can be visited right now to see that, okay, these are the stories, this is my imagination, this is my memory, and this is what is happening. And to think about it is unbearable, but then it is like, well, what is it for the body? Because this is, or where, maybe it's just a huge like mental headache or something that comes up when you even contemplate thinking about what is unbearable. It's like, where does it land beyond thought or prior to thought?
Okay, maybe I'm circumventing what you're asking, but I'll just say my reaction is that the unbearableness is in the feeling of the thinking or something. It's not in the body. If I were able to stop long enough to go into the body, it wouldn't be unbearable. I wouldn't be in the story as much because I'd be either listening to you or on my own, coming back from the story and going, what's the body doing? What's going on here? And that wouldn't be unbearable. The story is really, really unbearable, but that's in my head and it gets really intense. But as soon as I get out of that and go, where is it in the body? I'm like, yeah, it's fine here in the body.
Well, the head is the body, part of the body. So can you go in and hold that? I mean, it's almost like, you know, that Munch painting on the bridge of the guy.
Yeah.
You know,
No, yeah.
That's just an image
Like,
that comes up of, can you sort of like, is there an image that
yeah, that one makes sense. Yeah, the holding of the head. Yeah, there's well, I'm almost kind of distracting from it now, but there's a feeling of it, like almost accelerating, repetitive panic kind of thoughts, just getting faster and faster until it, feels unbearable. Like it just feels my thoughts are just not going to stop. Something like that. And
when there's a panicky, is there nothing connecting in the body? Like, what is the heart rate doing or the breath doing when there's a panicky situation? Is the breathing regular or is it being held? These are little places to look into.
I don't know. It's almost like that would be almost, is that anathema? Is that the wrong word? I mean, impossible to do both, like to panic into a ridiculous thought state and be aware of my breathing and my heart rate is impossible because the whole thing is like I'm in the thoughts so comprehensively that I wouldn't remember my heart rate or my breathing. And if I did, I wouldn't be in the panicky thought state. It just seems like.
How long can you stay in the panicky thought state?
I suppose I go into it over.
I mean, this is very sort of in a way analytical right now because it seems like you're easily able to talk about it, but you don't want to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it might be one of my scary thoughts. It's just, I would call it a silly thought. It's a fear thought about fear thoughts. And so there's just a thought going, something terrible is gonna, and I don't know what that thing is. It's never happened. And it sort of just points me towards panic or fear or something terrible in my unconscious that no one has ever seen. Oh my gosh. And it just, so the panic hasn't really, a few times it's got a bit, shaky, but it's more fear about the fear rather than getting into it and like collapsing or something, which probably happened sort of once or twice, but I don't really get into it all the way. It's maybe just a fear of it happening, of this panic thing happening, and just the repeated kind of fear thought about it happening. It comes back to me over and over.
Like the worst scenario you could imagine? Anna just lived something really, a terrifying living of non-existence, as it were. But that's of course that's not part of the thread here with you, but still the fear of fear. Do you know what
I should,
because it's so
yeah.
removed, it's so abstract, it's a name for a collection of thoughts, but normally there's some sort of, you know, there's a tiger under my bed, or
something like,
you know, little
but
child fears, or otherwise, I don't know, being destitute on the road, or
yeah, those ones get me. Well, a couple of years ago, in order to investigate my childhood fears and stuff, I decided to try psychedelics a few times, and I went into a state of panic, I think, with that, and a few times. And the fear there was, I am going crazy for real. And that means believing my thoughts so comprehensively that nobody will get me back from insanity. And it felt like that a couple of times. This is what going insane is actually like, believing my thoughts over and over and over until there's no sanity or clarity left. And that thought that I'm believing my thought, I know it's just repetitive, the same thought over and over, but that kind of panic. I was trying a little 10-day solitary retreat last year on my own, and Violet was helping me out with it, and I went into a state like that, and I was 4 days of shaking from head to foot, from dissociation.
so that's a trauma, that's a trauma response.
And I was,
it's
and I had to go and chat to people and go for lunch and stuff for 4 days to recover from an hour thinking, oh my God, I'm just losing it completely. So it's a thought about a thought about a thought. It's just silly. But
no, well, it's not, because you had a real lived experience that hasn't worked its way through from your system.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about it. So
I don't. Maybe Vince has some thoughts.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Sorry.
So yeah, that's one of the thoughts. I don't know, you know, and I try to remind myself it's just a thought about. I mean, there's the kind of a similarly shaped thought, as it were. I think from my childhood about something terrible might happen because my dad was angry, so I was always sort of a bit afraid of the next time he'd be angry and what would happen, or something. There's kind of a mechanism there going, oh my God, something's going to happen. But it's not a fear of anything specific. It's just what's going to happen next, and it's sort of in my system. And this thought is a bit similar. What's going to happen next with my thoughts, with my, you know, and there isn't any object to it exactly. There's no actual scary experience, maybe, or no actual insanity to point back to. It's just a thought about that I'm getting caught up in. And so that's why I call it silly. I don't know. I'm kind of going, there isn't anything to investigate there except the mechanism that points me in that direction, maybe.
But those are your thoughts on it, but there is panic there. And that's not silly. It's your experience. Yeah. And so could it be that you're also, in a way, you're not validating and going, you don't want to go there. You don't want to you already said that you couldn't bear it to go back into thinking that you believed your thoughts. And so there's something sort of real there. I mean, I think possibly writing your thoughts. I know we you know, you've done that, but still, even just writing, I don't ever want to believe my thoughts again and just keep writing or keep finding that like sort of triggering phrase that you couldn't bear, or of what you couldn't bear, and just repeating it over and over again to see that, to sort of start to unwind it.
Maybe I'll write it down. Yeah, thank you. I don't know exactly. I mean, I don't know what validating means in this context. So I've done in the past, maybe wrongly. And again, when I go on weekends to do substances or do breath work and stuff, and I'm trying to face into things and whatever, if that's, and face my fears. And I really, I'm not 100%. Yeah. I feel that I'm creating more and more of it by just believing it over and over and over until I get into an absolute panic, and I've just created fear out of thin air by trying to validate or trying to believe or trying to face it or something. And I'm going, how do I work with this? This has made it worse, I think.
So it seems like you're there's a part that is forcing through another part that is hugely in resistance. It's hugely frightened. And
Yeah.
what would it be to connect to that part and say, okay, we're not going to do this anymore because it's so provocative, and it's like, who is it? What is it that has to force through some real lived experience in the body that is saying, no, stop. You know, it's like saying, okay, listen, there's no self here, so I'm going to walk in front of a bus, you know, and the mechanism saying, no, 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 and something says, yeah, we're going to do it to prove, you know, that's not a very good analogy, of course, but it's the sort of willfulness of, in a way, really taking care of that, take care of that part in you that is protective and defending, and until it's really I'm allowed to expose whatever, wherever it leads, there's going to be that struggle.
Yeah, I think I've come across with it may or may not be the same part, but when I did IFS a few years ago, I found a part of me that wouldn't stop trying no matter what, studying for college and trying to do my job better and trying to do everything better, because I'm never going to be good enough. So you have to always keep going no matter what. And if I'm bringing that part to my weekend excursions of breath work and whatnot, and people are talking to me about my inner healer, and I'm like, nah, it's just a fucking crazy part of me that won't ever stop no matter what. Maybe I shouldn't say fucking crazy, but you know, there's an intense part of me. And and I think I've pushed really hard, and I've decided, you know, 99% or 95%, I'm going, I can't be doing that again. That's not helping me. I have to, because it's just not, it isn't, if there is an inner healer or whatever that actually means, I don't think that's the dominant part of my journey on those weekends. There's some kind of,
well, it's for me, it seems like it's a journey into real gentleness and connecting to, just this nurturing side within you, to nurture that vulnerable part of you.
And even Vince asked me a minute ago about whether I deserve or something. Was it I deserve to be okay or something like that? And feeling of that and I answered something like, oh, there's nobody here to deserve that. But I don't feel like there is, that positive side isn't very obvious to me. Like even my relatively calm present states in the last few days, I'm like, okay, I'm here, good, whether it was me doing it or discipline or what it was, or just luck or something. But people are always talking about love to me, you know, this kind of thing. I'm like, no idea what that means. I mean, I'm just
love, happiness.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind that,
if it's
you know,
not
I'm just
present,
going, I just don't
if it's
know what
not
it's
present, you know, it's either there or it.
I'm not against it. I'm just going, I don't
No.
experience it. I'm just going, I'm happy to be present and not completely distracted. That's better than usual. But it's not a cheerful, positive experience. It's just not as bad as usual. So that's good. But it's not.
Who says it should be? You know, except for all the people who want everybody else to lift them up because they're fleeing, and they say you should be happy, you should be content. And it's just real gaslighting, because they can't be with, you know, because we have the whole complete spectrum.
So yeah, so I don't know. So I mean, I think just for now, it's better to be less distracted and more present. Whoever is doing that, if anyone's doing it over here, I don't know. It's better. But there's more to be had, as it were, you know, more in terms of peace. And because there have been times during my life that I felt a lot better than this, and it's still possible, I think.
Yeah, but it goes like that. Then you go, never stops, because it's life. It's like every year the leaves lose their trees, and then go through a barren winter, and then they, you know, it's like it never stops until.
Yeah, that's So maybe that's just a belief. But as I said, I had that therapy session a week or two ago. And what it means to have a depressed part, I don't even know. Like, if it's here now, is it here now? I don't know. But like the feeling of seeing that clearly and getting the proper sadness and depression feeling from that, and really separating slightly from that, and the lightness that was, when I was separated from that for a short while, I was like, wow, I think this is really, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't want to be sorry for myself. I know you're going to laugh because I do that all the time. But like, there is a sense of, it possibly is proper depression that I experience most of the time, not just a bit of ordinary unhappiness sometimes. And I do think I've been depressed for 10 years, if not several decades. And the average level for a regular human could be way higher than this, I'd think. I'm still optimistic that it's better than fucking this anyway. And I know you have a hard life over there, Rowena, too. Jesus, I don't know. I'm not the only person with problems. I know that, but
I think, was it a week or two ago, Todd and Pernilla gave Todd did maybe it was on Tuesday, I can't even remember, last Tuesday. He gave a meditation on, I think, and the gist of it was, how do you know you're not happy?
yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
And I mean, it's just beautiful, how do you know when you're deeply quiet? How, does anything have to have a label? But we're so quick to label, and then there's the clinical, because we're so quick to label, then we want to go and fix, because everybody says you should be this, you should be that. And if we take a moment right here, right now, just to take a few deep breaths and look at each of us in the screen, in the computer, just becoming present. Does one need to feel in any way at all? What's coming up for you, Don?
Yeah, that everything is okay. Except for whatever thoughts and emotions are trying to tell me about what isn't okay. Kind of. Although, like, I don't spontaneously feel cheerful or optimistic or spontaneous or curious about anything. But it's okay.
You're very first, because do you notice how just coming out of that moment of silence, it was like, yeah, everything's okay. And then it was, except for the thoughts, and then it's like, oh wow.
So it is. Yeah, it is okay. No, it is okay. It's just that they are pretty persistent, and I feels like, I have to make an effort not to believe them all the time, whether I do or not. There's no me doing that, but I don't know.
What if you didn't? What if you just let them be? And again, let the worst ones, just let them be and put them out in writing or in front of you and say, you don't need to do it here, but just say like the worst things you could possibly say. I don't know, you know, whatever want, but allow them instead of, because can a thought think? What's your next thought going to be right now?
Oh, it's weird. I mean, I know the answer to that, don't I? Right? But I mean, what's
And
the
I know,
implication?
no, but you don't know the answer. You're just
I
going
don't. I
to.
know what it's supposed to be, but
No, it's
like
not supposed to
then
be
I'm going.
anything. Because what's your next thought? Okay, you already said, oh, I
No,
already
yeah,
know
but
the
they
answer to
seem to
that. So
influence
that's
how I
that was your
feel or
next thought. You see,
something.
I'm slow on the uptake. So
What? No, what?
but did the previous thought, or was there a thought that says, I know what my next thought is going to be, or did it just come out like that?
The next thought.
Can a
Yeah,
thought think itself into existence, or is just a thought just a thought?
I suppose it would just be a thought if it weren't believed so automatically, is what I'm thinking.
Okay, so you've got a thought, and then so that you've got a thought, and then you've got something that believes the thought.
Yeah.
It's another thought that says, oh, very subtly, I believe that thought.
And I don't even
And
know
then,
when you said something that believe, I don't even know what that something is that believes the thought.
No.
There's some believing of the thought, some feeling, some emotional response to the seeming
Yeah.
believing of it. That
Yeah.
whole process.
but a thought in itself. Okay, say those roses smell beautiful. You passing by some flowers and there's a rose. That rose, that's a thought. Can that thought do any more than just be there, and then you walk past it and you look at something else and another thought comes? Does a thought have any power to create anything more than just be a thought?
Ugh. Sometimes not. What am I saying? Just to create reactions or more thoughts. Nothing real, I suppose. But somebody get in the door. Sorry. Yes, he is. Sorry.
So it's just to sort of somehow start to look into thoughts and see that they have no agency. They're just thoughts, and so no matter how terrible the thoughts could be, even the thought that, you know, of fear, the word fear and what it raises, there was, and they don't actually have any power within themselves, and so you can write them out and they're not going to do anything, but they're going to be let out of the box, which has been like Pandora's box. They have been slammed shut on them.
Yeah, no, it's not. I think I'm able to watch them more readily or more easily recently. And
but don't watch them. Allow them to sort of like, in a way, not just see them, maybe write them down.
Okay.
Thought about this, thought about that. Or you know, the fears of how the thoughts impact you, your relationship with your thoughts. Even I don't like these thoughts. I can't bear these thoughts. Every little thing that you can think of, because we have the thoughts and then we've got subtle thoughts which escape underneath, which, oh, actually that was a thought, but because they're so subtle underneath and they come from, there's more abstract thoughts and they're more personal thoughts. Try and watch anything.
I feel like I'm being argumentative here, but I'll keep arguing for a minute until Vince looks at his watch again. But I was doing that a little bit because I was, Luciana asked me a question about that on LU the other day, and I wrote down about probably 40 or 50 thoughts in a row, and I'm like, that would go on forever and ever and ever. So I feel like the purpose of it would be, I think, the purpose of it would to see, oh, it's just silly thoughts. They just come out, and you know, in this, they're all just silly. They come out this habitual way. Why would I take them seriously? But what I do instead is I go, oh my God, this is never going to stop. It's just going to be a litany of negative
And
thoughts
that's another
forever.
thought.
Yeah,
It's another thought. So you write it down.
I write that
And then
down. Yeah,
maybe look at it and say, what
yeah.
happens if it never stops? And right then and there, oh, I couldn't bear it. So you write that down, and okay, what
Yeah.
happens if you can't bear it? You've been saying that for the last, you know, however long, but you're still here.
I'm still here. Yeah.
You know, it's like, can you accept to be in the body when you can't bear your thoughts?
Yeah, I suppose I'm still here, as you said. Yeah. I don't know what to take them seriously. It's funny. The next one of the next thoughts that will come
That's
is,
another
it doesn't matter
thought.
if I do. Yeah, that's another
another
thought will
thought.
come, will say, it doesn't matter if I do self-inquiry, because if I understand, it doesn't make any difference. They'll just keep coming. They'll just keep being believable, even if I understand. It doesn't matter doing this.
They will
It's a
never
waste of-
stop.
Yeah. And then I believe that one, and they go, I'm not supposed to believe my thoughts, I'm failing. And that goes on like that for ages and ages, you know. And I'm like, what am I doing here? It's a fucking waste of time. That's another thought, right? And
Yeah.
I just don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's intensity there, there's feeling there, Don, you know. Then okay, so then there's some frustration and almost, you know, whatever word you want to put it, maybe even some, you know, a bit of despair of this situation with these thoughts. And then it's like, wow, you know, stop and stop. I'm sorry, I'm not telling you to stop, but in a way it's like an invitation to stop and see where that's led you, you know, to getting into the body, because really that's where in a way that there's always a feedback loop going, creating the stories and the thoughts that come out of unexpressed, like the panic of
yeah. I do get people to help me. I have a person who does focusing with me, and we go into the body. That I'm not great at going into it on my own, to feeling what the body is doing.
it's practicing.
I'm not sure what it means, but I do.
It's been a protective mechanism, very strong, and so it requires huge gentleness, especially, you know, since you had that recent experience with when you got a panic with your thinking.
That's kind of, that's a bit. But just the one when you say the word stop, I mean, I hear Angelo says, I'm sure, but you know, Gangaji says that a lot, because she talks about her experience of Papaji all the time, like, just stop. And that really affects me. I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. I know there's energy in that too, but when I hear her saying it, I'm going, yeah, okay, there's no other, I don't want to even do complicated analysis of what's going on here, because it's too ridiculous. I'm just going to.
No, you don't need to. Because anyway, it's all mental, wherever we go, if we're just thinking about our thoughts, it's just going around and around, you going off on a little journey up into thought land. The only way is to say, stop. Okay, what's going on here? Because there's a reaction to this. You know, I can't bear it. That is strong. It's strong. It's something those are not silly words. That's coming from deep within.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what to do, but if I'm on my own, I feel like it's just me thinking about stuff, or my mind. I don't know if I feel I'm not able to do it. So the thing I can do, well, I'm sure if I'm doing it, but just stopping and being present, and noticing there's silence, and then there's stuff happening, and just staying with the silence and going, that's the best I can do for now, because it feels like it's okay. Like I said, right, the silence or the presence is okay. And I'm going to stay with that and not go off and trying to figure stuff out. Is just, I don't know. I usually have to get someone to help me with that, to help me.
You can't.
You know what I mean? With the feeling, the sensations, and guiding me and stuff, so I don't go off on a negative trip, you know, or something.
Yeah, but it's remember the gentleness, because the forcing against what is resisting, that's cruelty to a child. And it really is, it's self-abuse almost. I mean, sorry to use strong language, but
there's a lot of that. I mean, there's some of that here, I suppose, the discipline or the effort.
we're all guilty of it.
Yeah. And I guess that's why I need, so I mean, I do feel like I need someone to help me with it for now still. Either
Yeah,
I
for sure.
don't know how to take a positive or compassionate view, or I just get distracted in 16 different ways. And I have to be brought back over and over to what we were doing. So that's what, yeah.
Well,
And it
it's
does.
great that you've got some people nearby.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I'm grateful to all the people who helped me. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. You've come out the other end of that, Anna. You don't have to tell me, but you look like you've recovered.
Oh my gosh, see, like once I get in touch with something, I like body goes in intense shake, and there's like crying and shaking, 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 crying, shaking, crying, shaking. And it's like, like there is no hair anymore at all. It's just like all body, all somatic, all energetic. There's like mind is just completely quiet. It's just like complete like repressed, subconscious, unconscious material coming up. And it's just like, whoo, warm. So yeah, I was just like shaking and crying and whatever was happening. Like my son seen me in this condition last time that happened. Mom, you need to see doctors. Mom, you need to see doctors. No, I'm okay. Mom, it's not okay. And it's, it's strange how things are coming up. There can be, like calling for help and, like screaming like for mommy and just like different kind of things. And there can be like, no, I don't want it. Many, many different things are coming up. But it's completely not here. It's just like all bodies just expressing. Yeah. And then, like, let's end it up with what recently is ending up is like that need to be held, just need to be held and soothed and just, like cuddled, just warm, just like embracement, just that cuddle, need to be held. Yeah, that's what recently ending up with. So what I'm doing, I'm just, like just taking cushion and just really just sitting and cuddling and just like soothing and talking and talking and talking. Just, it's basically, like you regulate nervous system after that expression, whatever that is. It's just, like, I'm just like, I don't know how I'm doing that. I'm just tuning into a body and just allowing body to express. But pretty intense stuff, but I love when that happens. Nice to see it. It's nice to see it. I know, like it might be scary at the first time since that happens, but when you see that doesn't affect you in physical or mental way anyway, you just allow it and it just like flows. It does itself. But Vince, thank you very much, because that was just exactly, you just pressed exact that button what needed to be, just to say, that's from a first perspective person, like, I don't exist, and that was just like, boom. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you very much for everyone to hold in the space.
When that happened to you, I really felt like telling you that I was very touched. I could not really feel you because I'm not you, and but that proves that you were quite present. You didn't disappear, really.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Really, thank you, everyone, for holding this safe space, basically for holding. And that's what needed is, the most. to have this safe space to be, you know, seen, to be allowed to be seen and expressed and just accepted the way you are, basically. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Hmm. Right. I've got to go to bed, I'm afraid. I'm exhausted. So thank you.
Good night, Vince. Have a good night's sleep.
Okay.
See you in the morning.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.